Welcome to the New Industrialist, a show when we explore technology and innovation in the industrial space, mobility, manufacturing, and energy. I am Bogobowicz, and I'll be your host and guide through the stories and the technologies that we explore here. And today I'm here with Eric Cesa. Eric is a VP at Etas, driving Etas business in the Americas. Eric, it's nice to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
It's a real pleasure, and it's quite an amazing place and time to meet. We're at CES. There was a lot of announcements happening here. It's quite a show.
Yeah.
Not everybody may know what it is that Etas and you do, so maybe we'll start with a basic introduction, like the 100 level on
Sure.
Etas. What it is that you guys do?
Etas supplies the auto industry with embedded software and tools to develop embedded software.
So you guys are the operating system for the car. Is that how I should think about you?
Yeah, like the Microsoft Windows for the auto industry.
Okay, so definitely we have a connection here.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's a very big statement. Operating system means a lot of things.
Yeah.
So what it is that you do for the OEMs?
So Etas at its core is a product company, right? We were spun out of Bosch 30 years ago as a way for Bosch to monetize tools that they were developing internally to support embedded systems development for the automotive space. So now we we've parlayed that into a business with Bosch as well as Bosch's competitors, and then the OEs that really everybody is supporting in the industry.
Okay, well, why do they need you? What it is that you are giving them that they could not do on their own?
It's so expertise in how to develop embedded systems, tools that make the engineer's job easier, and then software that they can put in their vehicle and build their application software that ultimately controls the function of the vehicle into their products.
If you've been watching or inside this industry, you know that every single OEM attempted to build their own software and their own software tools and software chains. Not many of them have been successful.
There's been hiccups. Yeah.
I remember a few of those. How do you play into this? Like, how do you make it easier for OEMs to succeed with software?
From a pure software product standpoint, so like when we talk about the operating system for the vehicle, we actually allow the OEs to focus on what's important for their customers. So focus on the parts of the software that are customer facing. Oh,
so you choose a particular space, the component of the software, the end user, the customer facing.
So basically the stuff that the customer never sees, we supply.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But that is critical to the operations of the vehicle. Is that how
right.
I
mean, safety, security, all come out of the software that we supply. Part of it, right.
When an OEM chooses to work with you, what does it mean for them? What choices are they really making when they make that decision?
For number one, they're pulling in our expertise, right? Like 30 years of expertise in the industry. We're definitely a well-known entity within the automotive space. We're forward-thinking, so that if you think about where the auto industry is heading, we're in part with Microsoft really pushing the boundaries on where the industry needs to go. You think about it takes maybe 5 years to develop a new car, put a new vehicle on the road, and now we're looking at shortening development cycles to 24 months. And how do we do that? We do that through partnerships and stuff like that. Really enable our customers to move faster.
So. There is quite a tension there because you can see BYD coming in with a car every, exactly 24 months.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you say on average it takes 5 years, you're talking about the non-BDM OEMs.
Yeah, right.
Can you help get them to the 24 months? Like, what is the gap that you're really helping cover?
Yeah, sure. Like, especially with the kind of things that we're doing with Microsoft. So we just launched three products on Azure, right? So, and they're available on Microsoft Marketplace. So there's 3 tools. One's called Data Operator, and Data Operator is about taking big pieces of data, pulling them together, and then and allowing somebody to analyze that data. With another tool called EATB, that makes it really quick to analyze big sets of data. And then we have another tool called Osmo, which is about model calibration. So you think about what we're able to do using Azure and the compute power available there is reduce cycle times on data analysis, substantially, like orders of magnitude. You're talking like, something that took you're talking about days and hours and days of counting into minutes and seconds in time.
And those 3 tools, they already existed. So you're doing a new way of integrating them, you're using cloud and Azure to the way to put them together in a unique way. Like, what's really the difference here?
Typically, those are machine-based licenses. So they go on, they get, somebody has a laptop or somebody has a PC, they get a license.
So you've got an on-prem cloud
right.
combination.
So now moving it to the cloud is a completely different premise, right?
We've been moving, companies into the cloud for now probably a decade.
Yeah.
Are you saying that the OEMs may not be the first to do that?
The projects that we have, they're proof of concepts with OEs. So we are working with the OEs to implement these solutions.
Okay, I got to push you on this one. Mm-hmm. Why now? Why not 5 years ago?
Good question. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe there wasn't such a push for speed 5 years ago, number one.
Okay, that's the market angle.
Number two, the magnitude of the complexity change is pretty drastic right now. When you think about the content that's going into a vehicle, it's dramatically different than it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah. The competitive pressure clearly increased. I can see the market changes. And yes, amazing pressure that the OEMs are feeling to make that change. Given that it hasn't happened yet, is there a cultural problem? Is there a need for the organizational and deeper change in how those companies are thinking about their business, and can you help them with that as well?
We can certainly help through tools and how we use our tools. And I think, but in addition to that, you can see these companies going through changes, right? Like if you look at, I mean, I'm responsible for the Americas, so let's just talk about US-based companies, right? GM, Ford, they both have pretty significant establishments on the West Coast, and it's integrating different mindsets into the automotive development stream that really, I think, will transcend at least the American auto industry.
Is there a different approach you're seeing between different U.S. OEMs of how they approach this problem?
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Tell me, I'm excited to hear.
So some of the companies have what you maybe we term skunkworks projects, like on the West Coast. Other OEs have entities on the West Coast, but integrated into the teams with their teams in the Detroit area, so that there's not a strict line of demarcation between the entities.
So they bring the software component differently into their main operations, how they build and design cars. Is that what you?
Yeah.
Is one approach better than the other? Do you see one of them succeeding and more than the other?
My opinion. The ones that are able to integrate the two, because Detroit has a lot of the industry knowledge is important, right? But so is how do we do things different from a software perspective. Those two things are really important. If you just have one of them, I don't think you'll be as successful as somebody that puts it together and integrates it.
And then your organization has 30 years of experience building software. Are those OEMs looking to you as an example of how to think about building software in a modern way?
Yeah, it's push-pull, I would say.
Yeah.
I think we're learning from them. The business models are changing. Like I see, even from an OE perspective, a different way of dealing with their supply base, more towards partnership, less towards just being a supplier.
So, okay, very complex environment. Software is coming in, there's a new dynamic, the OEMs are adjusting to it, you are playing a critical part for it. So now I'm going to ask you a question, kind of looking forward. How do you think this is actually developing? What's going to happen next? You've got this nexus of tension. What's the next bit to it?
I think people look for a big bang. I don't think you see big bang. I think you see an evolution.
Gradual change and improvement?
Yeah. I mean, I think you talked in the beginning about a lot of people have had some false starts, maybe, right? I think that's because maybe the expectation was set here and a step change was expected, but you don't see the step change.
So that's on your customer side. What about for Etas? What does that mean for your organization?
It's big, I think. You think about moving our products that were license-based, individual PC kind of products, and really have them function as cloud native solutions, that's a big step. And some of our tools are old, right? And so you think about that code, the code legacy there, and trying to move from something that was designed and has a lot of stuff in it that was developed decades ago. How do you move that to be cloud native? It's not insignificant, the task.
And not trivial. Are we as Microsoft helping in this process in any way?
Yes. Yeah. We're working really closely with your team and getting our tools up on the cloud. So I mentioned the 3.
Yeah.
We have a whole roadmap of additional tools that we will further put on the marketplace over the next year or 2.
So the toolchain, I think, as I hear you describe it, your toolchain is the critical component that you are bringing into market, allowing for that process to be better integrated, smoother, faster, because of the set of tools that you are connecting. So Eric, what's the role of Azure in helping build that toolchain, the set of products, the set of tools that allow customers to be more effective in moving forward?
So I think even more than Azure, I think it's Microsoft, and I think it's customer pull that we're both getting, bringing us together to provide a solution for the industry that really supports their needs. And their needs in developing software faster. We have this buzzword today that we use called shift left, but really what we're talking about is unlocking compute power that enables our customers to actually use virtualization to test and validate their product earlier in the stream in order to get stuff done faster and more efficiently.
So if I can paraphrase, so I understand you correctly, you are saying this is not just a single technology problem. That's a much deeper problem that we are solving. It's an ecosystem.
Yeah,
and it's not even between Microsoft and Etas. There's a
I
broader
think
set of...
we'll have, we can't do it all. You guys are huge, but you can't do it all, right?
Yeah.
We'll have other suppliers involved in creating a solution that provides the ecosystem to the customers that the customers need.
If we are successful, when we are successful,
when.
What does it mean for customers? How does it reflect on people that not just understand the technology, not the engineers, but the end customers?
So the end customer can rest easily that they have a safe, secure product that actually gives them what they're asking for. The whole thing about the software-defined vehicle, it's really about providing solutions that the customer is actually asking for.
So thank you for that reference. So now we have it. People that are listening to us are probably mostly engineers. So now I would love for you to give me the same answer, but for the engineers. We're working together, you're building this new tool chain. I'm an engineer listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
What does it mean for me?
It means my job's easier. Yeah, it's not like we're taking the human out of the job. We're making the job
But
easier.
do I need to
for the
learn
human.
new things? What do I need to do to be more effective with what you are building?
No, I think our job is to make it easier, but how do we make it easier, right? So we have our tools. Tools can be sometimes difficult to navigate, right? Like, how do I use the tool? Like, what's the most efficient way to use the tool? Some of that stuff we can take out, like through the use of AI. We can take out some of the steps that the engineer would have to use or actually have to know how to do. We can take that out and make it much easier for the engineer to leverage the power available from the tool chain.
Because that simplicity translates into ability to do a better job, get to market faster. The shift left that you were describing.
Yeah. More efficient use of engineering, of your engineering talent.
Does it mean there is a different set of skills that engineers should be acquiring to be able to take advantage of it?
For where we play, the engineer needs to have the knowledge in the system he's trying to develop, not necessarily in the tools he has to use to develop the system. We're trying to make it easier for the engineer to actually do his job.
I see. So you really, the emphasis from an engineering perspective is on the problem set that they are solving for, their domain. You are simply making ability to access that domain easier because you are giving the tools to the engineers to be able to do that job.
Yeah, making the tools easier to use, easier and faster.
Now, going back to the market dynamic that we are facing, where cars are being developed, how they are being developed. Having that tool set available in the Americas, what does it mean to the OEMs?
In a lot of cases, familiarity. So all of the OEs are using our tool chains already. So what we're unlocking with the partnership that we have with Microsoft is how do they use those tool chains faster, and how do we make it easier for them to use them, like we've been talking about, right? So there's familiarity with our tool chain that's 30 years in the industry.
Because you've been in this business for
Right.
over 3 decades. Eric, that's absolutely fascinating. You're building a new software, new tool chains that customers can use. What does the future look like? What will building a car look like in 5 years?
The future to me is super bright, it's super exciting. I mean, so I've been in the industry 30 years. The rate of change today is I haven't seen it move this fast. And I started about the time we started putting electronics on cars. So, and that was a big change, right? Now the rate of change is dramatic. So what do cars look like in 5 years? I think you see over-the-air updates become more and more prevalent. And how do we actually facilitate the ability to do these over-the-air updates with things like we're doing with you guys, right? It's enabling our customers to actually use the virtual space to validate their product. If they find an issue in the field, find a fix, validate that fix all in the virtual space, because we have the compute power available and we can do it quickly, and then release that to their customer base in a very short period of time.
Eric, I love it. Your vision of the future is very practical. Like, we are really solving problems that customers have today.
I'm an engineer. So.
And I can see this. Like, this is the future and the reality of what's coming our way. Thank you so much. There was a fascinating conversation.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Awesome insight.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.